Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami
Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhakti
Jayadvaita ki. Thank you very much for the kirtan. Thank you all for coming. Welcome to Bhagavat Sravana, program that we hold every Sunday morning here at Bhakti Center. We are going to have a wonderful program for you today. As long as Jayadvaita Maharaj will speak for our benefit until 12:30, at which point we will have Arti, worship ceremony for the deities, and then we'll sing Srinivas prayers, and the whole thing will culminate in a wonderful prasadam feast. It's vegan, if that's consideration for you. It's a vegan feast. So there's a lot to do today. I will carry on with introducing our speaker. Some of you may not be fully aware of who he is. His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami is an editor, writer, publisher, and teacher. He was initiated by Srila Prabhupada in 1968 when he was 18 years old. He served as an editor for nearly all of Prabhupada's books that were published during Prabhupada's lifetime, and he's been involved in nearly every phase of publishing Prabhupada's books. In 1978, he accepted the renounced order of sannyas, and he has lectured extensively at colleges and universities, especially in the United States. He spent a Yes, okay. He co-founded the Vrindavan Institute for Higher Education, VIHE, in 1987, and has served as a director of Srila Prabhupada's publishing house, the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. Maharaj has also served as editor-in-chief of Back to Godhead magazine for several years, and as a director of the Bhaktivedanta Archives, which is the official repository for historical records from Prabhupada's life and work for a decade. He's the author of Vanity Karma, Ecclesiastes, Bhagavad Gita, and the Meaning of Life, which was the winner of the Benjamin Franklin Gold Award from the Independent Book Publishers Association. He also authored Srila Prabhupada's Kirtan Standards, a handbook. Another book, The Vanaprastha Adventure, is currently, I believe, in post-production? It's in production, okay. So soon on that one. Apart from writing, he travels widely, teaching the philosophy and culture of Krishna consciousness, and is taught in more than 70 countries, among them New York City, which we consider to be a country. Anyway, you should all know that everything I just told you is an abbreviated biography. Please welcome His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj.
It wasn't abbreviated until 1976 period.
Nice going over there now.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna. Om Advaita Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupapada Mahyam Tathati Shapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapadakamanam Shri Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Shagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Shahagana Lodita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 18. If I'm not wrong, it's 24 and 25. Sounds as good as any. Ekada dhanurunt yamya vicharan mrigayam vane ragan anugata shranta kshudita strishito brisham Chadashayam achakshanaha pravivesha tamashramam tadarsha munim asinam shantam militalochanam. Once upon a time, Maharaj Parikshit, while engaged in hunting in the forest with bow and arrows, became extremely fatigued, hungry, and thirsty while following the stags. While searching for a reservoir of water, he entered the hermitage of the well-known Shamik Rishi and saw the sage sitting silently with closed eyes. Purport. The Supreme Lord is so kind to his pure devotees that in proper time he calls such devotees up to him and thus creates an auspicious circumstance for the devotee. Maharaj Parikshit was a pure devotee of the Lord, and there was no reason for him to become extremely fatigued, hungry, and thirsty. Because a devotee of the Lord never becomes perturbed by such bodily demands. But by the desire of the Lord, even such a devotee can become apparently fatigued and thirsty, just to create a situation favorable for his renunciation of worldly activities. One has to give up all attachment for worldly relations before one is able to go back to Godhead. And thus, when a devotee is too much absorbed in worldly affairs, the Lord creates a situation to cause indifference. The Supreme Lord never forgets his pure devotee, even though he may be engaged in so-called worldly affairs. Sometimes he creates an awkward situation and the devotee becomes obliged to renounce all worldly affairs. The devotee can understand by the signal of the Lord, but others take it to be unfavorable and frustrating. Maharaj Parikshit was to become the medium for the revelation of Srimad Bhagavatam by Lord Sri Krishna, as his grandfather Arjuna was the medium for the Bhagavad Gita. Had Arjuna not been taken up with an illusion of family affection by the will of the Lord, the Bhagavad Gita would not have been spoken by the Lord himself for the good of all concerned. Similarly, had Maharaj Parikshit not been fatigued, hungry, and thirsty at this time, Srimad Bhagavatam would not have been spoken by Srila Shukadeva Goswami, the prime authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is a prelude to the circumstances under which Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken for the benefit of all concerned. The prelude, therefore, begins with the words, "Once upon a time." Ekada, once upon a time. This is the prelude to, I find it interesting, to Srimad Bhagavatam. And we're already in the 18th chapter of the first canto. So much has been said about the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam, about the hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, or hearing and chanting in general, about the nature of the absolute truth. Much has already been, if we stopped before the prelude, we would already have one of the most valuable books in the world, with so much transcendental knowledge given. But now here in the 18th chapter, the prelude to Srimad Bhagavatam is being introduced. It reminds me also of Vedanta Sutra. The Vedanta Sutras begin, Tato Brahma Jigyasa. Now, therefore, let us inquire about the absolute truth. Practically the first word of the work is therefore. Usually you'd say a lot and then say therefore. But sutra means compressed knowledge, concise. So it begins, therefore. And that therefore has been commented on extensively by various acharyas. Therefore can mean now that we've come to the human form of life. It can mean now that we've seen that all material attempts at happiness or understanding have failed. Therefore, now. There are various other interpretations also. In any case, Ekada, once upon a time. Ekada dhanarudyamya vichuran mrigayam bane. The king, Parikshit, was hunting in the forest. This was a necessary program for the Kshatriyas, because sometimes they'll have to contend with enemies, attackers and so on, threatening the state, and they have to be ready to fight. And to be ready to fight, you have to have some practice. You can't just be reading theory or just shooting stationary targets. So the Kshatriyas were allowed to hunt, and if they would kill a tiger or what have you, then the animal would be offered in sacrifice and promoted to a higher station in life, a higher birth. So the animal would also benefit. It wasn't helter-skelter, kill it and eat it kind of hunting. It was a part of their prescribed duty. So Parikshit Maharaj was hunting, Dhanarudyamya, Vicharan Mrigayam Bane, hunting animals or deer. And following the animals, he became tired, thirsty, hungry, and he didn't see any bodies of water around where he could get water. So Pravivesha Tamashramam, he entered into the ashram of the well-known Shamik Rishi, and he saw that the Rishi was in meditation, Shantam, peacefully seated, asinam, milita lochana, with his eyes closed. And as we'll find, in the coming, as the story unfolds, Parikshit Maharaj expected to receive a welcome, expected to receive some water. That's sort of minimum. You come to someone's ashram, they may not have much, but they'll have some water, give you a place to sit, give you some water. But he saw that the sage was not even opening his eyes. And Parikshit Maharaj might have taken that as a sign that the sage was deeply absorbed in meditation. But instead he took it as an insult. He took it as a sign that the sage was ignoring him on the pretense of meditation. And so he felt insulted and garlanded the sage with a dead snake. He happened to see a dead snake lying there. So with the edge of his bow, picked up the snake and, okay, as Prabhupada said, tit for tat, you're going to give me a cold reception, I'll give you a cold response. So in this way, he insulted the sage. All of this was totally uncharacteristic, starting with being hungry and thirsty. The Brahmin maybe might get hungry and thirsty, but this is a Kshatriya. They're meant to take it. That's how Karna was detected to be a Kshatriya. He was sitting, and his guru Parshuram was taking rest, keeping his head on Karna's lap. So all right. Then an insect, a boring insect, started boring into Karna's flesh. And Karna just stoically took it. I don't want to disturb my Guru Maharaj, so let me just tolerate. And blood began to flow, and the blood dropped onto Parshuram, and he woke up and saw that the disciple's leg is covered with blood. He sized up the situation, and he could understand that Karna, who had professed to have been Brahmin, I think, or anyway, not a Kshatriya, must have been a Kshatriya, because only a Kshatriya would be able to tolerate that kind of pain. So a Kshatriya, Parikshit Maharaj, was also worthy Kshatriya. All right, you're hungry, you're thirsty, that's okay. But here, it was so pressing that he felt that he had to enter the sage's ashram, and he felt insulted. Normally, all right, he didn't offer me water. Oh, I was about to curse you, but...
He's afraid.
Thank you. Oh, normally, all right, I didn't get any water, but he became short-tempered. The king became short-tempered, which was unnecessary, uncharacteristic. Kshatriya can take it. But instead he becomes short-tempered and curses, insults the sage. So Prabhupada delves into what's going on here. Why is Parikshit behaving this way? And the answer is given that this is Krishna's arrangement. The kindness of Krishna is that in proper time, Prabhupada says, he calls his pure devotee. just to bless the devotee with good fortune. But to others, or even to the devotee, it might not seem like good fortune. As the chapter unfolds, Parikshit, who's a young man, is going to be cursed to die in 7 days. Not what we usually think of as good fortune. But it is good fortune. The most fortunate person Parikshit becomes, because he ends his life hearing the glories of Krishna from Srimad Bhagavatam from the most qualified speaker, Shukadeva Goswami. So he attains perfection. Shukadeva is perfect by speaking, and Parikshit attains perfection just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So it was very fortunate, even though appearing unfortunate. So Krishna arranges these things. Everything is in Krishna's hand. And so he can arrange apparent misfortune for his devotee, just to bless the devotee. The purpose, Prabhupada said, was to create a situation favorable for renunciation of worldly activities. Parikshit Maharaj was a devotee, so where's the question of worldly activities for a devotee? Everything is Krishna's service. But still, there's a context of activities that we might consider worldly. To be a king is a worldly occupation. To be involved in householder life involves one in the world. The sannyasis who've renounced the world don't worry about the rent check. They don't worry about the job market. They don't have attachments to or concerns even for home or wife or children, because all of these things are temporary. They ultimately have nothing to do with me because I'm not this body, I'm the soul within the body. So we're like travelers who've landed in a hotel for the night, and maybe we meet in the restaurant and we talk about where we've been and where we're going, make friends. And then in the morning we all go in our own directions, and that's that. So the Bhagavatam says that similarly we're combined for some time as friends, family members, countrymen, and then by the waves of time we're separated. And then the relationship is like relationships we have in a dream. Very real and very illusory. They appear substantial, but then when we wake up, all those relationships have disappeared. So even for a devotee, there's some consideration that this is a worldly engagement, to be a king, to be a householder, to be in this or that circumstance. And Krishna wanted to remove his devotee from all such engagements. Now just hearing Bhagavatam, Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalaya, just drink up these activities of Srimad Bhagavatam and go back to Godhead. That was the Lord's program for Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj must have had his own program. What we're planning to do with the kingdom, what we're planning to do this way or that way. But Krishna had a different plan. And so, and Parikshit Maharaj accepted that plan. The Prabhupada says the devotee can understand the signal. The materialist doesn't get it. Krishna sends so many signals and he doesn't see them. He doesn't see them. This is called Maya. Maya covers our vision. Maya impels us to make mistakes and to fall into illusion. So even when the signal is clear, we don't get the signal. That sometimes happens in statecraft. There's all sorts of signs that the enemy is going to invade, and we don't get it. There were, before 9/11, there were all sorts of reports from various intelligence agents within America and elsewhere that something was going to happen. And for some reason or another, the signals weren't picked up on. So that may happen. And in our personal life, that may happen. There may be signs you should get out of here. You should retire. You should sever this relationship. You should invest your energy here. Different signals, different signs. And we can miss them. We can miss them. Of course, the devotee becomes a little expert. Because he is engaged in Krishna's service, Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. I give him the intelligence to pick up on the signals and know what to do so that he can advance in Krishna consciousness and come back to me. The more we're covered by passion and ignorance, the less we can see. But Sattvat Sanjayate Jnanam, from when we're in the mode of goodness or on the transcendental platform, then the signals should be increasingly clear. And for Parikshit Maharaj, they were. Couldn't miss him. It was more than a signal now. It was a curse by a Brahmin boy to die within 7 days. And even then, sometimes people don't get it. They get a terminal diagnosis and they start searching on the internet for cures. There's some shaman in Guatemala. There's some famous Ayurvedic doctor in Pune. There's a this, there's a that. There's a news clipping that a team in Mount Sinai has discovered a radical new way to approach this. Come on, it was a terminal diagnosis. You're going to die. But you're refusing to accept the message. And so you're wasting your valuable time. You have 7 days left, let's say, and you're going to spend 6 3/4 of them looking for a way to reverse the inevitable. This is called Maya. And the materialist is like that. Even after it's clear that he's going to die, he's thinking of how his body can be preserved so that he can be rejuvenated, restored to life and rejuvenated. Just even when it goes that far, he doesn't get it. When you die, you're dead. No. So attached. But a devotee, Prabhupada uses the word for the Pandavas in one place, malleable. They're willing to be molded by Krishna. They're willing to be directed by Krishna. They're willing to fit in with Krishna's arrangement. Maurabi Rakabi Chatohar. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. You can kill me, you can protect me, whatever, I'm your servant, so you can do as you like. This is otherwise, the non-devotee, you can do this, you can do that, but I have my program. Who cares for your program? In the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna sees the universal form, and Bhishmam, Chadronam, Chajayadvatam, Cha, Tatak, Chakarnan, like that. All of those, Yuddhaviran. He sees all these great warriors rushing into the blazing mouths of the universal form. Kechid vilagna dashanantareshu drashyante tam chunitaya rutamangai. He sees that some of them are like clinging to the teeth of the universal form. Some of them are being ground to powder. And then he sees wave upon wave of humanity entering into the mouths of the universal form, the form of time, ultimately. So what are we going to do to reverse this circumstance? It can't be reversed. Only the fool will think that, no, I can do this, I can do that. But the intelligent person, all right, you've come as death, kalos miloka kshay krit pravidho. You can destroy the whole world, so you can certainly destroy me. So you must have some plan, but let me accept that. Or from another point of view, all right, if there's some unfavorable circumstance, let me make it favorable. Make it favorable means surrender to Krishna. There was one king, Katvanga Maharaj, who was fighting for the demigods, and they were pleased with him, so they gave him a benediction. What would you like? I'd like to know how much longer I'll live. So they said, not long, a few moments. So he surrendered to Krishna and made his life successful. Therefore, Bhagavatam says, even a moment of self-realization is better than years and years and years of not learning from our experiences. So the devotee sees everything as an opportunity to surrender to Krishna. If I have to fight, I'll fight. Here it was the opposite. Give up everything. Put away your royal dress and just sit down in here because it's over. But for Arjuna, it was the opposite. Arjuna was thinking, better to die. What is that? The end of the first chapter. Better for them to kill me, unarmed and unresisting. So he's willing to die. And Krishna's saying, no, you can't die. You have to fight. All right, Kardashe Vachanam Tava, do as you say. He gave his objections, of course, but finally, and that was Krishna's arrangement, that Krishna, with great drama, arranged the whole battle of Kurukshetra, and arranged for Arjuna to fall into illusion and lose his nerve. and want to flee the battlefield. And Krishna had to instruct him, no, this is nonsense. You must fight. Oh, if Arjuna hadn't fallen into illusion like that, we wouldn't have Bhagavad Gita. It was an opportunity for the Bhagavad Gita to be spoken and for Arjuna and the rest of us to hear it. And so with Parikshit Maharaj, it's an opportunity where it's Krishna's dramatic staging for the speaking of Srimad Bhagavat. Amalam Purana. Let's see what else we might want to look at. Prabhupada also has told us quite several times of his own experience in this regard. Prabhupada's not just translating the words of the previous commentators, but he had his personal experience that he was a householder and everything was ruined. His business was ruined. All his money was taken away. Everything was smashed. And he tried to put it together again and he couldn't do it. Oh, Yasyaham anugranami harishe tad dhanam shanai. Prabhupada quoted often the verse that when I really favor someone, I take away all his money. Shanai means gradually. I gradually take all his money. And then he tries to recover and build it up again, and I smash him again. And then again, until finally he surrenders to me. Till finally he surrenders to me. Then he becomes happy. So Prabhupada had that personal experience that Krishna turned the tables on him. Krishna forced him in one sense. Of course, we understand that Prabhupada didn't need to be forced, but Prabhupada took it as Krishna's arrangement, that he's forced me to surrender. And certainly set an example for us also. An awkward situation. We have that. We all have awkward situations where we lose our position, we lose our money, this happens, that happens. Mukunda Maharaj, in his biographical book, Miracle on Second Avenue, tells how he was convicted for some crime, and then all of his friends deserted him. Yeah, he was doing well, he was quite doing fine, and all of a sudden everything just imploded on him, and all of his friends deserted him. In a circumstance like that, you reevaluate everything. You have to change your entire question everything. Why am I here? Prabhupada said when that happens, why am I here? Why is this happening to me? One gets serious. And Krishna arranged that it's just that time he met Srila Prabhupada and surrendered. So again, Krishna creates these apparently awkward circumstances by which the devotee becomes fortunate. And materialists can't understand it, but the devotee can see that this was Krishna's mercy. Even the devotee may not understand it at the time, but then he looks back and says, oh, Krishna was so kind to me. I was thinking this, but Krishna rescued me. Prabhupada said, the Lord is kind to his devotee. So we can depend on that kindness and try to see what is that signal, what is that indication from the Lord. Does he want me to take something up? Does he want me to put it all down? Whatever Krishna wants, that will be best. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, 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 Hare. Some comments, some questions?
Thank you very much, Marge. I love your classes. They're so deep and to the point. And I have quite a few questions, just in case no one else does. I came prepared. So just the first point that we spoke about was, of course, Marge Parikshit was out hunting. And you mentioned for the Kshatriyas, this is, okay, so I'm just wondering, because I've also been asked this at different times, so it said it's okay to hunt for certain people. Prabhupada also said we should establish Varnashram, which means there should be a Kshatriya. So how would that look if we were to establish Varnashram?
Yeah, you can, then some people could hunt. Yeah. If you go to Jaipur, you can still see the Jaipur Museum and see the tiger knives of the kings. Knife about this big, serious looking knife. I think there's one with like 3 blades, if I recall. You hold it like a serious piece of hardware. And they would fight with the tiger face to face. Not one of these things where you sit in a blind and shoot a gun from, so many meters away. They'd face a tiger face to face. So some of our young men who want to show their sort of manly profile, once we set up Varnashram, forget growing a beard and beating a mridanga hard. Go out there and face a tiger.
On that point, Marge, would they also eat?
Yeah, Prabhupada said they can also.
They would.
You mentioned that these animals are offered as sacrifice. So how does that look like? Because we know like this Vedic.
You're the Brahmin. You're the one who does the yajnas around here. What do I know? What it would look like a sacrifice, swaha and all of that, I assume. If called upon to do a sacrifice like that, you'll have to do some research.
Hare Krishna, I have a question about your work as an editor. Recently I came across one of the old publications of Srimad Bhagavatam, and there was a chapter at the end of each canto called Mantra Meditation, and this chapter is not included in any of the new publications, so I was going to ask you about...
I don't know what that is, or in Bhagavatam?
Yeah.
Must be that some publisher somewhere has thought that it would be beneficial to add, but in Prabhupada's Bhagavatam, it wasn't there.
It wasn't. Okay, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you, because in that chapter there were some very confusing instructions about japa meditation, and I am very happy that I had this opportunity to ask you, because I couldn't believe that it was actually written by Prabhupada. Okay, there was no chapter mantra meditation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Dead battery.
Here, take this one.
I can speak
You have another one, okay.
loudly also, if that's okay. Can you hear me okay, Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah? You mentioned when Parikshit Maharaj was bitten by the snake and then, realizing that sometimes Krishna does some things that feel apparently bad for us, but it's because he wants something good for us. Sometimes it feels like we can understand that intellectually, but it's hard to get through the moment. How can we help ourselves and others get through those difficult moments where we can't understand why Krishna is doing something or allowing something?
How can we understand? Intellectually, we may get it, but in the moment, it's tough. So how do we deal with that? It's meant to be tough. When Krishna does things of this nature, it's meant to, disrupt our life. When Krishna says, all right, you're cursed to die in 7 days, or now look at all your family members lined up against you, it's meant to disrupt our life. That's the point. So we don't want to just kind of get through it. Well, all right, it was tough, but I remembered the 7 habits of highly effective people and kept going. We're meant to be disrupted and ultimately depend on Krishna. That's the point. So in any circumstance, the devotee turns to Krishna. That's the real thing. And that's our training. We're chanting Hare Krishna, we're reading, but we're being trained to see that only Krishna can protect me. Only what is Rakshashyati iti Vishvasho. Only Krishna can protect me, so let me turn to Krishna. Nothing else will help. Yes.
So on that point, Maharaj, this word surrender, in one sense, it sounds like surrender, but it is so unique for every person in each circumstance. And so on this point, we're meant to surrender to Krishna, but like I often think, with Srila Prabhupada, and especially with the Bombay building of the Juhu temple, it seemed so obvious, and the devotees thought it was obvious, that wasn't the right place, that they should leave. And everyone wanted to go, and they were trying to break the deal. Everything was happening. It seemed as if all the signs were there. But Prabhupada was like, no, we're staying. So sometimes, it seems like the signs are there, and I guess Arjuna's arguments, it could seem like he had good arguments why he should leave the battlefield. Of course, there were. So I'm just wondering, sometimes, as you mentioned, the signs are there and we should be open to hear them, but to surrender, it's like sometimes surrender means fight, and sometimes surrender means, like with Draupadi, to let go. And how are we meant to know?
How do we read the signs?
Thank you.
Sometimes it seems that all the signs are pointing one way, but really we're meant to go the other way. So how do we read that? Therefore, one, first of all, should be experienced. The neophyte will see the signs one way, and the experienced devotee will see them a different way. And then we should be well guided. If we're guided by the spiritual master, by the shastras, by the mature devotees, that will help us. And we should, what is that? Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, but what is that? Tesha Satata Yuktanam. For one who's always engaged, I give the intelligence. So we'd better be engaged, otherwise we may not get that intelligence. That's there. Yeah, Maya always wants to reinterpret the signs. This is a sign that you should be more self-reliant. This is a sign that that you can't trust God. This is a sign that, and so on. So one has to be trained to read the signals. And often it will be obvious. Or we're ignoring the signals, and therefore we need friends. We need Vaishnavas who are friends, and we hope advanced friends, friends more advanced than us, guides. Because I'm getting signal after signal, and I'm oblivious, I don't get it. So sometimes we need a friend to shake us up and say, Prabhu, what are you thinking? You just don't seem to get it. And those are our real friends. Okay? Something else? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I just had
Online.
You have a good loud voice, okay?
yeah, I just wanted, all the signals, do they come of a transcendental nature or?
Do all the signals come from the transcendental nature?
Spiritual.
Everything comes from the transcendental nature, because Krishna is the origin of everything. Sadasach Chaha Marjan. Eternity or Krishna, the good and the bad come from Krishna, the true and the false come from Krishna, everything comes from Krishna. So if we're getting signs through material nature, that's also from Krishna. It's not that Krishna has to split the heavens and a loud voice has to come and say, Joseph, I want you to do whatever it is. Not that only that's transcendental. It has to come from heaven. Otherwise, it's not coming from God. No, God can act through material nature also. When your partner cheats you and runs away with all the money in your company, and then files charges in court that you've cheated him, that's coming from Krishna. Indirectly, through material nature, but material nature is also Krishna's energy. So when we get beat up by the material energy, that's also Krishna's mercy. The devotee sees that Krishna is working everywhere.
So the non-devotee doesn't stand a chance.
Non-devotee never stands a chance.
Excuse me.
Do we have another question or two? Yeah, there's some seats up front row. Hare Krishna. Yes.
I had another question, Mark. Was there someone else? We still have a little time.
Mm-hmm.
Just on the point, like you were mentioning about terminal illness, which, again, it seemed like, okay, so I've been given, should I, I remember, I think it was with Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, there was a whole thing, should he seek something, should he not seek something, and, should I just allow my body to die, or should I try to salvage it to engage in service?
End of life choices. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, Prabhupada also. Or very often anyone who's going to die, do we try to soldier on? Or do we just say, this is it? That will depend on the individual circumstances. That will depend on Krishna's dictation also. I don't have a prefabricated answer that fits every circumstance. but that's a time at which one has to be in tune with Krishna, in sync with Krishna, willing to be directed by Krishna, so that one can make intelligent choices. And if this were a seminar on the topic, we could go into all sorts of discussions about what one does in those in end-of-life scenarios or possible end-of-life scenarios. It's quite the crucial topic. What do you do? Every one of us will come to the stage. We may not get any notice, of course. We could just bang, be knocked out just like that. But if we get some notice that it looks like this, then what do you do about it? Do you fight it? Do you embrace it? Very important matter. For which, again, there's not a canned answer. But the final of the answer is one has to be Krishna conscious, so that whatever decision one makes will be under the protection of the spiritual energy, or place one under the protection of the spiritual energy of Krishna. There may be more than one right answer. Jivava Marova. The Prabhupada quoted, but basically the relevant part is, if you're a devotee, you can live or die. It doesn't make any difference. If you, Prabhupada said that, he wanted to go on a bullock cart expedition in his last days, and the Kaviraj, his doctor said that, as soon as he hits the first bump on that bumpy road, he'll be finished. So devotees were trying to plead with Prabhupada not to go. You'll die. And Prabhupada said, I won't die, I'll live. He says, anyway, if I die, that's expected. And if I live, then it's wonderful. So either way, Jivava Marova. And now I think we're just about out of time.
His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanande.
Hari Bol. Thank you so very much, Maharaj, for an illuminating class and wonderful question and answer session. Thank you. We're going to move into the RT phase now, so just clear the cushions and the chairs, and feel free to sing and dance during the RT Kirtan. Thank you.
Hey, I didn't plug my book. Later. Okay. Good.
Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Hare
AC Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Anand Koti Vaishnava ki jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadip Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Devi ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Lord Premanande.
Hare Krishna. Thank you once again for coming today. Thank you once more to His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj for a wonderful class. Thank you to our Kirtaniyas. Thank you for the devotees who prepared the feast that we're about to embark upon. Just a few announcements. One is the book that I mentioned to you earlier. One of Jayadvaita Maharaj's Srila Prabhupada's Kirtan Standards, a handbook. We have some copies here today that are for sale on the other side of the wall there by the Prashadam. It's a wonderful reference book. Maharaj, as I mentioned, has been traveling extensively for decades, and he's noticed different things about places where Kirtan is going. Some are sort of nice, some are sort of veering away from how Prabhupada actually taught us to lead and participate in Kirtans. So he goes through all of those things, not only his own memories, but backing it up with various references, so that devotees can make an informed choice on how they want to lead and follow in Kirtan. So I encourage you to check that out. Other announcements, we have a couple of community events coming up. If you don't have any Thanksgiving plans, by all means come to Bhakti Center this Thursday, the 27th, from 4 to 6:30 p.m. Bhakti Center will be serving Thanksgiving dinner, semi-traditional, a Vaishnava Bhakti take on a traditional Thanksgiving dinner. And you're encouraged to register for it, and there's a registration form to fill out, which you can find on the WhatsApp group. If you're not on the WhatsApp group, it's also on the website. It's not on the website. But if you want to get on the WhatsApp group, you can see Bhava Bhakti, who's behind the corner there. You'll know Bhava Bhakti. Okay, there you go. Also, there will be a Christmas party on the 20th, Saturday. It's this Saturday the 20th. That's a week from yesterday, yeah. From 4 to 7, and that's also, you need to register for that, and same registration deal for there. Any questions, you can actually ask Jayadvaita or Bhava Bhakti, who are here today, or you can email Jayadvaita at CCO, that's Community Care Office, CCO at bhakticenter.org. Just a couple more things, because December is Gita Jayanti month. And so a week from today, Bhagavat Sravana will feature His Grace Garuda Prabhu, one of the ISKCON scholars, and he's going to talk about the little-known secret teaching in the Gita. So please come next week for that. Again, Bhagavat Sravana is every Sunday morning at 11 o'clock, goes till 1 o'clock when Prashada is served. Gita Haven, on the Gita Jayanti day, this is when the Gita was spoken by Krishna to Arjuna, is Monday, December 1st. So it's a week from Monday, I believe. The day that Krishna spoke the Gita, there will be a fire yajna here in the temple room, and all those gathered can recite the key verses of the Gita together. And those who sponsor at least 5 Gitas will be able to make offerings into the fire with each shloka recited. So that schedule is 6 o'clock on Monday the 1st, with a welcome kirtan and registration. 6:30 will be Gaur Arti. 7 o'clock will be the Gita Fire Yajna, and then at 8:30 Prashadam will be served. And there's also a place to register for that. Bhakti Life happens here every Friday evening, and they will invite us to a sacred 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita recitation on Friday the 5th from 4:30 to 8:30. So it's a lot of dates and times and stuff to remember. There's always something going on at Bhakti Center, so I encourage you to go to the website to find out about them. The WhatsApp group is a wealth of information that updates you periodically as these things happen. And if you're just really confused at this point, please see Bhava Bhakti or Jayadvaita, who's both of whom are here today. Thank you very much. Once again, Prashadam is being served now, and it's a vegan feast. And we're going to sing a string of prayers. Thank you for reminding me. I jumped right over to string of prayers in my zeal. So we'll do the string of prayers, and then we can go to for Prashadam. Would you like to lead?
I don't need.
Okay. Yeah.
Krishna